Hello everyone and welcome back to the Florida Relocation Guide. My name is Adam Hancock. Today's video is the second episode in our brand new Why series. Why does someone do something? Why might you do it? Why has anyone ever done it in the past? And it's new construction builder specific. So basically using the idea of saying none of these guys are perfect, but based on what people have actually done, not what they said they were going to do, what does it mean? What does it mean to you? And this can illustrate a lot. This can teach you geography about a town very quickly, can differentiate builders from each other. I think it's a cool way to learn. So we're going to talk Taylor Morrison. Why Taylor Morrison homes? We talked about Pulte last week. There's a lot of individual merits, but it's not helpful unless you can say, if I had to pick one, I'd pick them because they do this and other people don't. And it's a combination of things. So we're looking for hyper differentiation. Pulte, I took the angle of functionality, and they're located, basically you can go to every part of town and do something similar, and it doesn't blow you away necessarily in like what it is, but I think it makes sense for what it is, and it lets you basically pick a circle on a map and do something somewhat compelling in a lot of areas. Taylor Morrison is similar in a lot of respects as far as its coverage to the Sarasota, Manatee, Southwest Florida in general area. But where I like them especially is when they build out a community, when it's all said and done, the way that the amenities and the floor plans and the infrastructure, the landscaping, everything, the way they complement each other, the balance of what I would deem as luxury, if this is in your lane, if you are someone that your housing criteria matches this level of a conversation, they take it to the next level. I think they basically, a lot of people are here and they sit up here, but they don't go so far to compete with people they shouldn't be competing with. If that makes sense, hopefully it'll make more sense as we go here. That's my idea here. So that's why it is luxury where it matters, but nowhere that it doesn't. And that's why I like it. I hope you enjoy the take. Make sure you check out the new Home Geeks Audit, my brand new tool I just launched that would allow you to take anything here on video and customize it to you. And without further ado, let's hop in. Okay, my attempt for this video, at least at the moment, is going to be to use 3 to 4 total points to further illustrate the idea of luxury where it matters. Some niche, some not so much. But I think this will be very similar to what I see when people relocate, is it feels like at the beginning everything's amazing. There's so many communities to pick from. Your criteria works for all of them. It's a great market to buy in. And then when you get down to town and you start to actually work through the information, you're going further and further and further. I've not found many people that even had 2 communities where if one didn't work, they were cool with the other. But it's the timing that you learn that information is important. And I think a lot of my points are going to be that. It's going to be like, okay, this doesn't seem like an issue until it is. So I'm going to use my favorite whiteboard again here with I've been liking the props lately. My first one is super niche, and it is buying your way into deeded golf. So a popular community that we can use as an example is called Esplanade Azario. This was like the belle of the ball 3 years ago. It's still really popular. It's in Upper Lakewood Ranch, Florida. It was the next gen of another Esplanade community they built a few years prior. What you basically have is more or less-ish about 1,500 homes to build out like a good level balanced deeded golf community over here. So half of those you're going to get golf and social membership, which is like all the amenities, and then the other half is going to get just the social. Not like you can't golf ever, but this is the guaranteed golf. They have a bunch of different floor plans in here. One of them being is this little plan called the Ibis. It's like basically almost like a paired villa level house, or it's like a very narrow single family. So it's long and lean, like almost like the front doors even on the side is so narrow. You still get the garage and all that kind of thing. And it's not like it's not this custom luxury thing, but it's nice. Well, they had deeded golf memberships on those. So you got this. And this thing was going at like $349K to buy your way into like pretty unbelievable amenities. But it's luxurious on this side, but this is kind of a tool. It's a conduit to get it. So whether you could rent 3 times a year, 3 months at a time, I think, in Azario. And so whether you bought your way into a partial year ownership thing, maybe you wanted it to be your homestead technically or something like that, or maybe you didn't want to rent it at all. But for this, like it was really, really efficient way to do it. And you could say, all right, well, okay, when I look at Florida, there's 1 billion golf communities. So who cares about like one Upper Lakewood Ranch one? Well, if you want something newer than 2010 and you're looking at deeded golf, well, let's look at what that actually is, because what you have is you have Lakewood National, which is Lennar. Lennar is the no frills of the no frills builder. The entire community, one, it has really loose rental restrictions. So if you look at how many of the units are for rent right now, it's abundant. You can rent 12 times a year, 1 month at a time, which makes it where, do you want to live in the one that everyone else is renting in? I don't know. But also you can't choose any options with those homes. Even the Ibis, like you're not going to get that level of build. So you have Lakewood National, that's DD Golf. You have Calusa National, or Calusa Golf and Country Club, whatever it's called, in Lakewood Ranch, which is the next gen of that, also Lennar. Sarasota National in Venice, Lennar. Welland Park Golf and Country Club, Lennar. And you say, where else is the DD Golf? I can't think of one. So if you actually came in, you have one builder with similar communities in different areas to pick from against Esplanade Azaria, or against the other Esplanade that was built like 5 years prior. So it's either a resale. So would you, if you like this kind of home, this kind of community, even with nice amenities, would this even be in the conversation? If Lennar is off your list completely, then we're talking one total community. So now this opportunity is way more value to me. And then you could say, all right, well, I don't need DD Golf. I don't need to like go out and have my cart ready at the same exact course. I want to kind of play the field. I want to hop around town and buy all this other stuff. Maybe you don't want to compete with the public all the time. You want to like at least have a semblance that I can golf when I want to in a similar area. Well, then you say, okay, what does pay-in membership look like? Your problem here is availability. You have the Oaks down in Nokomis, which is lovely, but it's in Nokomis. And you have Lakewood Ranch Country Club is another one. Country Club West, East, there's going to be 4 courses. It's a privately owned thing. Well, up until very recently, and still kind of today, you could say I want to golf here all I want, but there's no availability. And if there is, there's like some long list. You might need to know a lot of people to even get an opportunity in here. And so you can see how this gets like really minute really fast. So what I really like about this idea is there's these little combinations that I find to be really special. It's the application of the more affordable, but in their lane, homes within the Taylor Morrison golf communities, as it applies to a golf and social membership, is you get spa, 16,000 square foot restaurant. You get a swim up bar at the pool. You get one of the nicest deeded golf communities that's owned by the members of the neighborhood that exists in all of Sarasota, Manatee County for $350K that you can rent 3 times a year. It's the combination of the two that I think they've done really well with. And if you really, and when this kind of thing sold out and you're on a resale only market, I think you'll see how scarce the actual opportunity to control you having a newer house and golf at the same time is to the Southwest Florida area. All right, point number 2, for lack of better words, I'm just gonna call it comparison to others. So this is another one in a similar vein to our last point of, you know, it seems like there's a ton of golf, but is there really? You know, and if you start to shop, let me go back to the handy dandy whiteboard here, but if you're talking about Taylor Morrison homes at all, if those words are coming out of your mouth, then who else would you probably be comparing against? So if you have Taylor, my experience, you're going to be shopping against Neal Communities, the Pulte brand, Del Webb aside, we're going to park Del Webb. Esplanade flirts a little bit with like 55 and up lifestyle, but let's say no age restriction. So you'll probably, in this area, you won't be shopping Centex, but you'll be shopping Pulte de Valsta. Those are 2 relevant brands that they put out multiple neighborhoods. You could throw in MI Homes, maybe Mattamy. In the value of today's conversation, I don't know how much you're flirting with Homes by Town, Toll Brothers, definitely not messing with Stock Development, Arthur Ruttenberg, Lee Weatherington, any of them, because they're going to jump you in a whole, their median price point is going to jump you in it changes everything. You can't go apples to apples. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, D.R. Horton, Lennar, Ashton Woods, any of these kind of guys, you probably wouldn't be either. If you're excited about Taylor and you're kind of saying, no regrets, what else should I be looking at? And then again, this is where it gets really interesting because you're going to see these names repeatedly. I don't know how much of the Pareto that these guys cover as far as total density of new construction homes being built in the Sarasota Manatee area, but it is a lot of it. So where I deem the most value is you could go to most meaningful parts of a town and do something similar to what would be ideal for you without sacrificing one or the other, which allows you, importantly, to shop in the order of geography first, home second. So you go pick where you'd like to live, what would be ideal for you, and you step back and you say, okay, great, I'm gonna do that here. You don't have to go to a part of town that you don't like or don't want to be in because that's the only way that you could get into that home. So it's a geography and it's a versatility. Awesome community in an area you don't want to live, null and void conversation in my opinion. So then let's look at this. We go Upper Lakewood Ranch. We got this little, let's say this little Upper Lakewood Ranch quadrant here. For the people in the super know, like these are the map kind of drawings here. This is the high school over here, Upper Lakewood Ranch. This is where that Esplanade Azario community is. They have a little sister called Park East that's like a more affordable part of that, but Esplanade, Azario. You say, okay, well, great. Pulte has a community up there called Sapphire Point. MI has a community up there called Sweetwater. DR Horton, which we've already talked about, has Star Farms. You have Lennar up there with Lorraine Lakes. So you say, okay, well, if these are the comparisons in Adam's mind at least, then I could go up here and I could pick any of these, right? Well, what you're going to get into is you're going to like a lot of similar floor plans at multiple builders. If you go look at the 65 foot product and you're shopping like the Palazzo against MI's version of that, against Pulte's version of that, like I think the Stellar sits in that, Stellar Grand, something like that. You might be like, these are pretty similar to each other. But the problem is what's going to make your decision isn't necessarily that. At this level build, on the custom guys, that'll completely change the conversation. Floor plan will matter way more. But this level, I don't think it matters entirely. I don't think it's an absolute deal breaker. So then it allows you to say, like, this is a neighborhood thing. Well, if you look at the amenities and what Sweetwater is and what Sapphire Point are versus Esplanade Azario for the HOA cost on the social membership, it's not even a conversation which one stands in the luxury where it matters and nowhere it doesn't. Go down another example, like the Waterside District down here of Lakewood Ranch. Terrible drawing, sorry. There's lakes and stuff. But you could say, okay, Shoreview. Pulte has two communities down there. You have Shoreview and Avanti. Avanti was a really, really small floor plan. Positioned for empty nesters, sneaks its way into some sort of like affordable play, but it was just because the houses are super small, so it's not gonna work for everybody. And it's way down here. Shoreview, amazing piece of land, under 300 homes, but amenities were just very anticlimactic compared to like the price of the homes to a lot of people. No restaurant, none of that kind of stuff. Even Lakehouse Cove had a different tier of aesthetic. MI has a community down there called Nautique. I think it's over 75% of the entire 200 something homes were townhomes and the other single family. So that's another niche one. No Mattamy, there's Little David Weekly, Pulte already covered. Neil has a community called Windward that was already there. Normal amenities, no restaurant, none of that kind of stuff. So then you come down here and no Taylor Morrison yet, but very shortly here in the southeastern expansion, if Monterey's over here and you have this little like kind of connection here on Bourneside, there's gonna be 5,000 homes built here, part Monterey, some Pulte in there too, so we'll see what happens with that. But there's gonna be an Esplanade community that's put there. And they're not really, it's a land thing probably and maybe a money thing as well. They're not gonna do a lot of the golf stuff anymore, to my chagrin. But what they'll do is if you've got familiar with Esplanade Azario and you said, just take the social membership and drop it elsewhere. That's what they're gonna do with these other communities. So if you look at the amount of homes, they're gonna build like 850 to 1,000 homes, and they're gonna do the Bahama Bar at the pool, the restaurant, and all that kind of stuff, some version of what you see at Esplanade Azario, and they're gonna put it down here, and again, you come down here, and you get in a more niche area that's like the sex appeal is the area. Well, they go way different with the communities. They peacock them. Because they're not saying like you're just going to buy here because, but they're not building something for everyone like they do in inland eastern zones. They're not having an empty nester like size down home from a 5,000 square feet to a basement to 2,000, plus villas, plus 5,500 square feet, plus in between. Here they're going a lot less homes and they're choosing like we're only doing these plans. So there's even less of a chance that you're going to view apples for apples. So you come down here and you go, they don't have the Beacon and the Lincoln, but they do the Palazzo and the Lazio and the Farnese and the Roma and the Ibis. And you're comparing against say they were all brand new, which they aren't. You're comparing against Shoreview, Avanti, or Windwards. You could love the Savannah 2 and the Kiowa, but which one's gonna have better amenities? You get the point, right? It's like when you actually get into it, you're gonna eliminate things that are difference makers. And a lot of, at a certain level house, the floor plan isn't gonna matter as much. That's not gonna make you not make the decision. It's gonna be the location and the amenities. Central Sarasota, same thing. Sky Ranch is in Central Sarasota. Sky Ranch has an Esplanade part of it, a Casilla part of it, and a townhome part of it. It's 11 miles parallel to Siesta Key. Central Sarasota does not look like Lakewood Ranch. It does not look like Welland Park. Not yet. It's not master plan. There's not multiple communities that come together for communal amenities. Sky Ranch is one of the only ones that do it. It's 99.9% Taylor Morrison, a little bit of custom. And they have the Bahama bars coming at the pool. Esplanade's kind of, they have like, you have to look at like their arrangement of like who can access what. But they have like a quick style cafe called the Hub. They're gonna have like, there's a public baseball kind of football complex in southern Sarasota where I grew up around called Twin Lakes. They're building one here that's similar called Turner Field. So you're gonna have like sports courts and outdoor fields and stuff like that. I'm sure they're gonna do like I-9 and some of the youth sports there as well. All of that's in Central Sarasota. There's a Neil community down there called Grand Park. It's normal amenities. There is no Pulte, there's no MI in new construction, there's no Mattamy, and so that even gets more minute in the areas that aren't dense. And then you could keep going, but Welland Park is very similar. If you look at what all of these guys are offering in Welland Park, it gets a little bit more interesting because MI is in Palmyra. Palmyra has really nice amenities, but they're doing an Esplanade community in Welland Park at Esplanade Welland, I think. It's very far south by the Myakka Pines Golf Club. But this is one of my absolute favorite points of taking a lot of convoluted information and saying it's pretty simple as far as the discovery process. Because if you went and said, this is what I would do with you. If you came in and like this kind of fit you, what I would ideally try to do is say, we need to use a builder as a talking head to learn the town in a way that we don't have many variables. We need some constants. Because if everything changes when you go to different parts of town, then it's too many things moving to know what you liked and what you didn't like about it. But if we looked at this argument, if we use the Esplanade brand, all new construction, the Esplanade brand of Taylor Morrison, to look at Upper Lakewood Ranch versus Lower Lakewood Ranch versus Central Sarasota versus On Your Way to Venice versus Welland Park, then when you get to each of those areas, you'll recognize the pattern of what that community is. So by doing that, beyond a little bit of intricacies of like slight changes in amenities, you could say, do I like Lakewood Ranch versus this other area? But if you go to one builder in Lakewood Ranch, and then you go say, okay, let me juxtapose that against Welland Park and look at a total different builder and a total different kind of community, then maybe you love that neighborhood and you didn't step back to say like, okay, if I could do the same exact thing in Lakewood Ranch, would I have? And I think that's the most important conversation overall. And that's why I'm big on like, if I talked to you and I saw your criteria, and I was like, and the way you spoke about it and your timeline and all that kind of thing, and I think you'd be fine, then I'd be like, all right, great, you're going to be, logistics aside, you're going to be good. I mean, we're going to figure this out. Trust me, I don't know the timing exactly what will evolve, but from what you're describing, you will be fine. Every area we walk in, you're going to be able to do something similar to what you want. So let's focus on the areas first. I'm going to walk you in anywhere you're like, this is amazing, but like, downtown Sarasota or the beaches or something like that. That would be my recommendation. That's why I love this point so much. And again, another thing of saying a lot of stuff that looks great on the surface as you get down. Are you really talking about a big list that's going to create your final decision? One thing I think Taylor Morrison does great, in addition to just where they've picked land and done all this, the timing, is floor plans. Not everyone does well, in my opinion, with the layouts. And Taylor Morrison, I think, has done fantastic with it. And so if you're going to apply all these different arrangements, you come in and these have like infinite floor plans, it seems like, let alone the options you choose. And there's 3 model homes on site, but you go look at the list, you're like, oh, I could do like 16 different plans in here. And then they all have a separate design list and a structural as it applies to that and elevations. And it's a lot of information. If you're going to apply all that to these amazing amenities and you're going to try to find where you fit, then I think what would be nice is if you can cascade the size of the homes, there's a compelling option in each that you like equally. Because some builders, as you get smaller especially, they get real boxy, not my favorite. A lot of people do 3,200 square feet on a single story, 3-bedroom, 2.5 den, nice. Like the Savannah 2 and the Kiowa, Plazio here, MI has a nice product, but like I can't say the same for everybody's 2,100 square foot product. So if you're like, definitely not this one, and then of course the bigger one works, it's just harder to work through decisions because it just alienates some choices. I think they do that fantastic. But let alone like, you walk in a Plazio that's decked out, 3,200 square feet, and you're coming from 5,000 with a basement. And I've had that conversation a ton. I mean, granted, there's no winner. You don't need all this stuff you're bringing with you. You're not going to maintain your own lawn, so you start to like get rid of stuff. But a lot of people are worried about that. Like, how could I possibly do that? And then you step inside of a Plazio and just the shape of it, the layout, how big that den is. And then how the patio accents the pool, right? Because we're the land of pool screens here, but they build it to the planes of the house. The wider the home, the more it's going to feel like that. That feels like a much more expensive home. I liked it a lot more 2 years ago, but still interesting now as well. Well, it has a son or daughter version of it called the Lazio. Identical. 700 square feet smaller. They have models you can walk them next to each other. When you walk in that, you're like, oh, this does not, it feels smaller, but it doesn't feel that much smaller. And it really just starts to open possibilities. You know, if you're just 2 people, you're like, the Plazio is cool, but like, how different is it? Do I really need that? You can save like $300,000 with that simple decision right there. That would pay for more than a pool. So that's something I really like, and that it's the access to being able to go like one community and shop all of them that I think makes it really interesting. So I wanted to mention that. I like the Lazio, the Palazzo, I think the Roma, and just make sure that they differentiate each other in price. If you're going to buy a Palazzo, it needs to be, you need to have value above and under what the Lazio is to it. If you buy a Lazio, make sure it's not, a resale Lazio is not what the Palazzo is as well. And that's how you'll get your money back later. So I just wanted to have mentioned that. I mean, I think that's something that every builder I've gone to, I've thought that over the years. As these things get more expensive, you know, I go back and forth on how much I like them at certain times, but this is one of the more interesting times in history that we've had. A couple things I look out for here at the onset of the back half of 2025. The closeout of Esplanade Azario. When that's done, it's done. Look to see if there's an opportunity there. Communities have been building for 5 or 6 years. You lose sight of a lot of times. You come in, you're only shopping the new, or they're saying this is a golf community. Really see if that's still on the table for you and see if you can be predatory with taking advantage of opportunities. I like that. They used to sell a 76 and a 90-foot product there. They don't do anymore. Those are the width of the lots. They had a Beacon and the Lincoln. The Lincoln was the only one that had the inset garage in that community, not front. The Beacon was really nice. Had an upstairs, all this kind of thing. Look at resales in there because the people that originally got those got amazing deals. That'd be one way if you want that deeded golf and you're someone that's maybe shopping, this would be the only example I could probably give, that you're shopping like Toll Brothers or maybe some of the stock development products on the lower end, something like that, the nicer ones. The Beacon it could hold a little bit of weight if you get at the right price in there. You'll be at the top of the price point in Azario, but in those other communities I just mentioned, those builders, they don't have golf. Esplanade Lakewood Ranch, which is the sister community to this, almost identical. They had condos though. That's another way to get into deeded golf on resales. I don't even know if there was a home built older than like 2012 or 13 in there. It's pretty new. Look at that. One of the things I would pay the most attention to is Esplanade Waterside. I will give you information as soon as I have it, but that's going to be one of the first communities that releases, in addition to Esplanade Welland Park. So neither one has golf, but Esplanade Welland Park would give you a Venice Welland Park option. Taylor Morrison is not there at the moment in a compelling way. I think that might sell in Q4 of this year. I already know the rep that's opening it, so I can keep my ear to the ground for you on that one. But the Esplanade Waterside is also really interesting. Sky Ranch is basically doubling the community. There'll be a lot more opportunities there. They weren't going to do all the sexy amenities at Sky Ranch Esplanade. Now they are. So if you want Central Sarasota before the Hi Hat Ranch, 3-8 Ranch like completely pops off, there'll be another thing I'd look at. So I'm going to wrap it here. Give me a minute. I got some interesting stuff I want to talk about in the conclusion if you don't mind. And that does it. All right, folks, that is a wrap for today's edition of the Florida Relocation Guide. This was episode number 2 in the Why series, which we're putting on a playlist. So I don't know if you can subscribe to playlists technically, but if you follow that playlist, you can see them episodically, and eventually we'll have all the builders here knocked out. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so. Most Sunday and Wednesdays for the balance of the year, we have a ton of hopefully valuable content planned. Subscribing is just the best way to see when it gets posted. New Home Geeks audit. If you haven't done that yet, check that out. It allows you to have a customized, basically like how I'd go about what you should do when you get to town situation. Like you tell me certain things via a form on my website and I say, well, all right, this is what I'd recommend we do, including specific community recommendations, etc. You can take that to a phone call to discuss afterwards if you would like. This is the step before that. We have relocation guides on the website. Please reach out directly if we can assist you with any of your real estate needs. I own a real estate brokerage, boutique style, so it's very controlled, very similar to what you're seeing here. Audio versions of the videos via podcast, if you want to listen to that. I like audio myself. If you have YouTube, it's hard to listen to YouTube in the car unless you have YouTube Premium because it's not in the background. So audio solves that. It's on iTunes and Spotify. And we have written words of the videos on the website as well. So that's the whole world at thesunshinestateco.com. I think that wraps it. Thank you guys so much for tuning into any of my content. We'll see you on the next one.